7 English Honeycomb Chapter 1. Questions and Answers. 3 questions comprehension check. Question 1. Why did the king want to know answers to 3 questions? The king thought that he would never fail if he knew the right answers to the 3 questions. Question 2. Messengers were sent throughout the kingdom to fetch wise men to find answers to the questions, to look for the wise hermit to announce a reward for those who could answer the questions. Mark your choice. Messengers were sent throughout the kingdom to announce a reward for those who could answer the questions. 3 questions comprehension check. Complete the following sentences by adding the appropriate parts of the sentences given in the box. 1. Many wise men answered the king's questions. 2. Someone suggested that there should be a council of wise men. 3. Someone else suggested that the king should have a timetable. 4. The king requested the hermit. 5. The king washed and dressed the bearded man's wound, but the bleeding would not stop. To answer 3 questions. But their answers were so varied that the king was not satisfied. And follow it strictly. To help the king act at the right time. Answer 1. Many wise men answered the king's questions, but their answers were so varied that the king was not satisfied. 2. Someone suggested that there should be a council of wise men to help the king at the right time. Someone else suggested that the king should have a timetable and follow it strictly. 4. The king requested the hermit to answer 3 questions. 5. The king washed and dressed the bearded man's wound, but the bleeding would not stop. Answer the following questions. 1. Why was the king advised to go to magicians? In order to decide the right time to do something, one needs to know the future, and that could be done by magicians only. So the king was advised to go to magicians. In answer to the second question, whose advice did the people say would be important to the king? Answer. To answer the second question, the advice of counselors, or doctors and priests, would be important. What suggestions were made in answer to the third question? Answer. A few suggestions were made in answer to the third question. The most important thing was suggested to be science, fighting, and moreover religious worship. Did the wise men win the reward? If not, why not? Answer. The wise men did not win the reward as they gave different answers to his questions. 5. How did the king and the hermit help the wounded man? Answer. The king with the help of hermit removed the wounded man's clothes, washed his wound and covered it with his handkerchief. He redressed it till the blood stopped flowing. Who was the bearded man? Why did he ask for the king's forgiveness? Answer. The bearded man was the sworn enemy of the king who had put bearded man's brother to death. He had taken away all his property, too. He had sworn revenge on the king. But the king had saved his life by dressing his wound. The bearded man felt grateful and asked for forgiveness. 7. The king forgave the bearded man. What did he do to show his forgiveness? Q8. What were the hermit's answers to the 3 questions? Write each answer separately. Which answer do you like most, and why? The hermit's answers to the 3 questions were: 1. The most important time was when the king was digging the beds for the hermit, and also the king was dressing the man's wounds are the most important time, so the most important time is present or acting now. 2. The hermit and the bearded wounded man were the most important persons. 3. The service given to hermit and the bearded man were the king's most important business. Or, the most important time is present. The most important person is with when one is at the moment. To do a good deed to the person is the most important business. I feel the third answer is the most appropriate one. 3 questions working with language. Question 1. Match items in list A with their meanings in list B. Fainted, lost consciousness. I, wounded, got up from sleep, awoke, give back, forgive, small patches of ground for plants, faithful, severely injured, pity, pardon. Beds, loyal, return, feel sorry for. Answer. I, wounded, severely injured, awoke, got up from sleep. Forgive, pardon, faithful, loyal, pity, feel sorry for. Beds, small patches of ground for plants, return, give back. Use any 3 of the above words in sentences of your own. You may change the form of the word. Dogs are faithful creatures on this planet. The flower beds are beautifully decorated. The war heroes were severely wounded. I took pity on a wounded bird. Never forget to return one's thing that you have borrowed. Question 2. Each of the following sentences has 2 blanks. Fill in the blanks with the appropriate forms of the word given in brackets. He has to help me. Do you think he will remember his? He has promised to help me. Do you think he will remember his promise? 1. The said that only fresh evidence would make him change his answer, judgment. 2. I didn't notice any serious of opinion among the debaters, although they from one another over small points. Answer, differ. 3. It's a fairly simple question too, but will you accept my as final? Answer. For it isn't that should always be the mother of invention. Answer, necessity. 5. Hermits are men. How they acquire their no one can tell. Answer, wisdom. 6. The committee has to make Jagdish captain of the team. The is likely to please everyone. Answer, decision. 7. Asking for is as noble as willingness to. Answer, forgiveness, forgive. Speaking and writing. Imagine you are the king. Narrate the incident of your meeting the hermit. Begin like this. The wise men answered my questions, but I was not satisfied with their answers. One day I decided to go and meet the hermit. The wise men answered my questions, but I was not satisfied with their answers. One day I decided to go and meet the hermit myself in the woods. So, I quietly set out for the journey as a disguised person. Upon reaching the woods I found out that the hermit was busy with his chores. I greeted him, to which he greeted me back. Then, I asked to help him, to which he agreed. I asked him my questions, to which he did not answer. I was worried, but the next day an incident took place which gave all my answers, and the hermit explained it to me. Then I returned back. 2. Imagine you are the hermit. Write briefly the incident of your meeting the king. Begin like this. One day I was digging in my garden. A man in ordinary clothes came to see me. I knew it was the king. Answer. One day I was digging in my garden. A man in ordinary clothes came to see me. I knew it was the king. He asked me a few questions to which I didn't answer. I waited for the correct moment to answer the questions with an explanation. The moment occurred the very next day when a wounded man came running towards my hut. After dressing the wounded man he was allowed to rest, and as the man confessed his guilt the king got to understand the incident that was to take place, and through this I explained and answered all his questions.